Shadows Among the Pines. In the heart of the dense woods, the Smith family found solace in a rustic cabin, seeking refuge from the relentless pace of urban life. Surrounded by towering pines, the cabin exuded a sense of seclusion that promised an escape from the pressures that had driven them to the edge. The family, eager for tranquility, embraced the isolation that the remote cabin offered. As night descended, however, the tranquility morphed into an eerie symphony of unfamiliar sounds. Shadows, like sentient entities, began to dance among the pines, casting elongated forms that seemed to move with a mind of their own. The family, gathered around a crackling fire, exchanged uneasy glances as the malevolent forces lurking in the woods made their presence known. The isolation that had promised peace now seemed to amplify the fragility of the human mind, laying bare the vulnerabilities that hid beneath the surface. The night pressed on, each hour accompanied by the haunting echoes of the forest. The family, confined within the wooden walls of the cabin, felt the weight of the unknown pressing in on them. The shadows among the pines seemed to feed on the tendrils of fear that crept into the corners of their minds. The isolation, intended as a remedy for stress, had become a breeding ground for a terror that defied explanation. As the fire's feeble glow battled against the encroaching darkness, the family found themselves at the mercy of malevolent forces that thrived on fear. The fragility of the human mind, once shielded by the distractions of urban life, now faced the harsh scrutiny of the unknown. The terror that lurked among the shadows challenged the family's resolve, leaving them teetering on the edge of a precipice where the line between reality and nightmare blurred into an indistinguishable haze. With each passing moment, the malevolent forces seemed to gain strength, their presence palpable in the ominous whispers that rustled through the trees. The family, huddled together in the dimly lit cabin, could feel the isolation closing in around them. Eerie sounds echoed through the forest, like a chorus of unseen entities mocking their attempts to escape the clutches of the shadows among the pines. As the night wore on, the fragility of the family's collective psyche became increasingly evident. Sleep eluded them, replaced by a relentless awareness of the malevolent forces lurking just beyond the cabin walls. The isolation that had promised an escape now felt like a prison, its walls closing in on the family's fraying nerves. In a desperate bid to dispel the encroaching darkness, the family mustered the courage to venture outside. The woods, once a place of solace, now seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy. The shadows, as if sentient, converged on the family, their elongated forms intertwining with the inky blackness. The isolation that had initially beckoned as a respite now became a stage for a nightmarish performance where the fragility of the human mind stood exposed. With every step, the family plunged deeper into the heart of the woods, their fear a beacon that attracted the malevolent forces. The eerie sounds reached a crescendo, a cacophony that echoed the torment within the family's minds. The isolation, intended as an escape, now seemed an inescapable abyss, swallowing them whole as the shadows among the pines closed in, hungry for the fear that pulsed through the air. The family, enveloped in the suffocating grip of the woods, became increasingly entangled in the malevolent forces that lurked among the shadows. Their movements, once purposeful, now seemed erratic, driven by the instinct to flee from an unseen adversary. The fragility of their minds was laid bare, the tendrils of fear wrapping around their consciousness like an inescapable fog. As they stumbled through the underbrush, the shadows among the pines seemed to elongate and stretch, reaching out like ghostly fingers eager to grasp hold of their tormentors. The eerie sounds crescendoed into a dissonant symphony, playing on the family's senses and magnifying the isolation that surrounded them. The forest, once a refuge, had transformed into an inscrutable labyrinth where reality and nightmare became indistinguishable. In the heart of the woods, the family confronted a ghastly apparition, an amalgamation of shadows and whispers that seemed to embody the malevolent forces feeding on their fear. The fragility of the human mind, pushed to its limits, fractured under the weight of the unknown. Panic set in, and the family, in a desperate attempt to escape the clutches of the shadows, scattered in different directions, their screams merging with the haunting sounds of the forest. As the night swallowed them whole, the shadows among the pines tightened their grip, leaving behind only an oppressive silence. The isolation, intended as an escape, had become an unforgiving trap from which there was no return. The cabin, once a beacon of refuge, stood silent and empty, its walls echoing with the memories of a family consumed by the terror of the unknown. In the aftermath of that fateful night, the remote cabin in the woods stood as a silent witness to the family's descent into the abyss. The malevolent forces, having fed on the fear and fragility of the human mind, lingered in the shadows among the pines, their insidious presence weaving into the very fabric of the forest. The isolation, intended as an escape, had become a haunting testament to the terror of the unknown. Weeks turned into months, and the cabin remained abandoned, a mere shell of the solace it had once promised. The woods, now draped in an uneasy silence, bore the scars of the family's ill-fated encounter with the shadows. Eerie sounds, like ghostly echoes of their screams, resonated through the trees, a haunting reminder of the malevolent forces that still lurked within. No one dared to approach the cabin, as if the isolation had taken on a life of its own, warding off intruders with an invisible barrier of fear. The shadows among the pines, having claimed their victims, seemed to pulsate with a malevolent satisfaction, their secrets buried beneath the layers of the forest floor. The tale of the family that sought refuge in the woods became a cautionary whisper among the locals, a story passed down through generations. The isolation, once perceived as an escape, now cast a long, foreboding shadow over the minds of those who heard the chilling account. The fragility of the human mind, when left unchecked in the face of the unknown, could unravel the very fabric of reality, leaving behind only the haunting remnants of a family consumed by the shadows among the pines.